Thank you for staying with Sharaad and I on Consider This. Now, along with the extension of the MCO to the 28th of April, Sri Muhyiddin Yassin today also announced that more economic sectors will be allowed to reopen in stages. A list was then released by MITI of industries that will be allowed to operate under the MCO. These include hair salons, hardware shops and full-service laundries. Now, will this be enough to keep some businesses from folding under the MCO? Joining us on the line now, we have Sri Leong, President of the National Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Malaysia. Good evening, welcome to the show. Now, according to the statement by MITI, companies which are allowed to operate must submit their applications online and then obtain a written approval from the ministry. Do you see this as being overly bureaucratic, that this will add to the process, which will impact the ability of businesses, particularly small businesses, to kickstart their operations?
Well, you're talking about the application? Yes. Application through the MITI for the companies to operate. I think it is important to do so because, as a matter of fact, we've been working very closely with MITI in terms of getting the list for the application for companies to be able to operate during the MCO time. And we are glad, in fact, that MITI just announced this list of possible economic industry that we can operate with these conditions for the sectors, which I think Sharaad has mentioned that the 3 or 4 actual conditions, which is importance in the global value chain, activities of economic sectors, which is high value added multipliers, the impact of the sustainability of SMEs.
Right. But Tan Sri, do you see this as being bureaucratic for the very small businesses? I mean, do you envision barbers going up, applying online and getting a written application from MITI?
But I think this is important. But I think this is important because due to the fact that we need to know which company that is going in, so that in the end of the day, the SOP, it is important that we make sure that the company is able to operate in the very appropriate and proper manner, so that we can have this COVID-19 chain to be broken, so that we will make sure that the public health and the health of the safety of the workers is being ensured. Yeah. And anyway, the Chambers of Commerce, together with the MITI, we actually set up a chat group. They're working together as a team day and night, very hard. We have received thousands of applicants from our members, and we get that sorted out and submitted to MITI. And so far, I would say that MITI has been very, very efficient working together with us.
Right, Tan Sri, could you tell us who's been left out and why they have been left out? What kinds of businesses have been left out of this list, and what kind of time frame are we looking at for them to be allowed to be on this list?
Well, I think eventually we hope all businesses will be able to get on their business as soon as possible. But looking at the current situation, Chamber of Commerce, in fact, has proposed 3 major sectors other than essential economies or sectors, which is manufacturing, construction, as well as the mining to start first, due to the fact that these 3 is like what MITI has just mentioned, the principle of manufacturing. Actually, we have the supply chain that needs to go to global, as well as SMEs a lot are in the manufacturing. And the construction, in fact, affecting these 140 other important sectors. So we think that it is important to have this manufacturing and construction to start first. And the rest, I guess, we have to slowly, if we are able to have this SOP, which is ensuring the public health and this safety of the workers is being, the procedure is being followed. I think the rest we will then slowly discuss with MITI and one by one get it open.
Right. Tan Sri, are businesses and factories, particularly manufacturing factories, ready to reorganize their production line to observe these SOPs you mentioned, to make sure that the health and safety of their workers are maintained, are taken care of?
I think it is a must and not a choice for factories and businesses to adopt best practices and the guidelines and the SOP that's being set for the public health.
But are they ready though? But are they ready
sorry.
though?
Well, I guess, as I mentioned, there's not an option. If they are not ready, I think then we should not let them open. And this is a new normal. So SOP and this SOP this is actually unprecedented pandemic. So, and of course, I foresee some of the SMEs may face some challenges to comply with these SOPs. They might not necessarily ready, but I can tell you that. In fact, it is not that difficult to be ready yourself. So with this, I would like to urge the SMEs especially to be ready yourself. First of all, to set up your maybe crisis management team or SOP team to prepare and to establish your action plan in order to have your company be able to operate during SOP or even during MCO or even post MCO, and then the plan for the work plan, staff planning, and meanwhile, of course, with that SOP plans, obviously, you will have to then ready to prepare for the necessities, for instance, masks, gloves, sanitizer, or even thermometer, and of course the workplace arrangement and so on and so forth. And communication is very important, I think. Currently, I think while at home, I think the employers should take this opportunities actually to communicate with employees. In fact, by using technologies, it can be Zoom or other alternatives like WebEx, Microsoft Teams, or even Tencent meetings. You can actually carry it out even like town hall. They brief your staff and workers to be prepared. To go back to the workplace in the new way of working.
Right. I mean, one of the things that seemed sort of missing on the list, of course, was the larger retail sector. And I'm thinking, of course, we had like opticians are allowed and so on and so forth. But the bulk of retailers don't seem to be on that list. Do you see a serious problem there?
Yeah, I think retailers has been facing tremendous pressure at this juncture. But I'm sure the government and also Ministry of Health must have made their consideration at this juncture. But however, we will then continue to liaise with MITI so that these retailers can be gradually open up. But by looking at the initial first batch of essential sectors that have been opened, so far, the companies or the businesses has been actually doing very well in terms of complying the SOPs. So I believe the retailers can learn from that, and then we can sit down and discuss, and slowly we have these retailers to be open.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us tonight, Tan Sri. Appreciate your time. And unfortunately, that's all the time we have on this episode of Consider This. I'm Melisa Idris. With me, Sharaad Kuttan. Have a great weekend, folks. And to those celebrating, happy Easter. Thank you for watching and good night.